Okay, welcome back, guys. We are making good progress. So today let's look at exception handling. Okay, so I'll define this video today that we are going to do as how to handle our errors. Okay, but to be more specific about the type of errors that we are handling exceptions. Okay, so now an exception is an event that stops our code from running or executing. So we just think of things that will happen in the flow of our program. We learned of control flow. So we are thinking about things that will happen that's going to stop our program from executing. Now a couple of things to look at. We have zero division errors, and then finally we have type errors. Now as time goes on, we are going to know what all these errors are, but let's just start with an example for the zero division errors. Okay, so let me see. When we want to do division, okay, we know in our normal mathematics we do not divide by zero. Okay, numbers are not really divisible by zero. That's an undefined set. So imagine that we have gone ahead to do that in our code. Okay, now at any point in time, if you are writing a program and we have this line in there, you are going to have an error, and then you can see that this is the zero division error. That's division by zero. Okay, good. What we want to do is, when we have errors in our program, we know this, our users do not know this, that is going to cause an error. They possibly do not know this is possible. Okay, we want to make it so that it's not necessarily that our application is going to stop running. We want to make checks to handle all of these occurrences so that our program does not stop running. The way we are going to be handling all of these errors, these exceptions, we are going to be using try except blocks. Okay, now how I can simply explain this is, try is for the code that might fail, what we are predicting is going to fail. Okay, and then for except, okay, if it does fail, what should we do? Again, we are going to see all of this apparent. So now let's say I want input from a user. Okay, let's say that I want input from a user, and I want the user to enter a number. Good. So let's see, enter a number. Let's be very fast, like this. All right, and now I want to take the number and do something with it. So I want to print, and let's see, for some reason I want to print 10 over whatever number our user is going to input for us. Okay, now as we can imagine, a lot can go wrong over here. Okay, now as we are accusing the user of always giving us errors, let's make sure our input is an integer so that we can work with it. Okay, good. So first, let's just simulate the errors before we even do anything. Let's just simulate the errors. Okay, so enter a number. I'm going to go for the one that's going to crash us, 0, and we have the zero division error. Now I want to run it again, and I'm going to enter jack, whatever that's supposed to be, and you can see that we have a value error. So we input the wrong value. Okay, we input the wrong value, and we also try to divide by 0. Okay, so these are the two exceptions that we have seen so far. Okay, now let's try to handle it. We don't want our program to be stopping. Okay, so we say we try. I said we put this in try except blocks. Okay, now with Python, remember from our first lesson, I taught us about white spaces and indentation. We need to indent this. Yeah, so in Python, wherever you see this colon, okay, for, while, things like that, is usually followed by an indentation. Okay, so now we have a try. We are going to try this code that might fail. Then we say except. Okay, when the user does this, except is a zero division error. This is good. Except is a zero division error. Again, we put a colon. Again, we indent. I hope we are following. All right. Now we need to tell the program what to do instead of crashing. Okay. Instead of just going ahead to crash, we need to do something else. So we say, so over here, what we are choosing to give the user a message. You cannot divide by 0. Who was your math teacher? Who was your math teacher? And you can see what we have over here. So that's our first exception. Now, if you do remember the second one, I think that was the value error. Okay. So except value error, because we know we always want numbers. Now we need to tell the user something. Again, invalid input. Please enter an actual number. Okay. This should work for our expected errors. Okay. Now I'm going to do this again. I'm going to try to do all the nonsense I did initially with the numbers. I'm going to try to input a 0 again, and you see it tells us that you cannot divide by 0 instead of just throwing a nasty error. Okay, so that's good. And again, let me input Paulina. And then you can see that it's an invalid input. Please enter an actual number. So that's about that, but there's something else that we can do. Okay, now we can bundle all of these up. Okay, and then we are going to send a single message for both of them. Okay, so I mean, I wouldn't advise that. It's not the greatest. It's not what you should do first, but as always, the thing that you have to do is not always the easiest to do. Because imagine working with bigger applications, and sometimes even you don't want to be putting what's going on inside of your server out there really, because of like hackers and things like that. So it really depends, but I have to show you. I need to make sure you know of it. So let's just go through it. So accept zero division error. Okay, and now we can put a comma, and then we put value error. Okay, and this is why we generally do not recommend this. At this point, what we are going to print needs to cover both, and then we are just going to tell you something generic like something went wrong. I know you have seen this before, and let me see, close brackets, in the colon to make the sad face. We are just going to tell you something like this. Okay, so this is how this is done. Whenever you see something went wrong, it's the developer bundled up, should I see, most of the possible errors, and then just send one generic message for them. I mean, it's simple. So let's try this out. Let's just try this out, and let me import goat, and something went wrong. Let me import the 0 to something went wrong. Like, there are no pointers for the user to really look at the error log, the error message, and then fix their error. So yeah, that's why once again I do not recommend this. So once again, we can play with the formatting and then the order of this. Okay, should I say the flow of this to also get another output? All right, and that's going to look something like this. We do not explicitly get our output in the try block. We use an else block to just get our input. Okay, so let's see, except something went wrong, blah blah blah, and now we come and we see else. So we want to go through all the exceptions first, and then if finally nothing happens, then we print you entered now. Okay, you entered, and then we just show the user the number that they input. Okay, so with this you can use string formatting. I mean, there are a lot of options available to you, but just know that you can have the try, okay, you can have except, and you can also have else. Now something very important, I think, will not make the tutorial complete, is to add a finally block, and let's look at what that does. Okay, so with our finally block, okay, when we look through this, we do see that okay, our try block is going to run, okay, and we only throw this error if something happens, if it's a wrong input. We only throw all of these errors if the inputs are wrong, okay. But with our finally block, it's always going to run, okay. So let's see, like we are just saying that no matter what, we need to print this. Okay, so our final block is like we need to print this no matter what. This particular block of code is always going to run. And let me just show you in action. Okay, so we run, and then it's going to ask us for a number. Let's go for the errors. I mean, let's put a 0, and it says you enter 0. Congratulations. Okay, so there was no error. There was no zero division error. There was no value error 2. And then you might think that's why it still runs. Now let's also look at a case where we do the wrong thing. Let me go for goat. You see, something went wrong, but we still print out congratulations. So the finally block of code is going to run like no matter what. That's just what we should keep in mind. Okay, so this is exception handling in Python. It's not everything, but this is mostly what you should be concerning yourself with. And I'll see you in the next lesson when we do functions.